All right, clerk person, can we have a roll call
Chairperson Kremen,
here?
Director Abrika,
Here.
Director Burt,
Here.
Director Pine,
Here.
and I do not see Director Combs.
All right, let me share my screen where I
Oh,
have.
wait. Executive Director Bruce, we have to approve the agenda. And I'm actually going to make a change on it to actually move up to elect our new chair, 6A, unless anyone has any objection to that. So Ruben, you can conduct the meeting because it's your turn, because I don't want to take away. So would you like, could we do 6A, please? We're supposed to elect our chair and vice chair.
Right, so I suppose you need a motion to change the order of the agenda?
I guess we could do it that way. Yeah.
So moved.
All right. I guess we'll do it. Okay, we got a first and second. Any public comment on changing the agenda? All right, I don't see any. I guess we should take a roll call vote, even though I understand the county is not doing roll call votes on things that are not resolutions and ordinances. But I'll leave that up to our chair to decide, our new chair to decide if they want to do roll call vote or voice vote. So could we have a roll call vote on changing the agenda to add 6A?
Director Kremen,
Yes.
Director Burt,
Here. Yes.
Director Pine,
Yes.
Director Abrika.
Yes.
All right, we're going through 6A. It's our time to elect a board chair, vice chair, and committee assignments. Does anyone have any comments or motions? Okay, we have a presentation on this. That's good.
There's, yeah, just one slide. Let me scroll down to it since we are in a different order. Oops, there we go.
That's it. Slide. Well, as I'm sure you all know, we rotate so it'd be fair and equitable, and we didn't do it last time. So I think it's time to rotate. So I'd like to make a motion that Councilperson Abrika be the chair.
Second.
All right, do we have any public discussion, public comment on this? I don't see any. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Could we have a roll call vote?
Director Kremen,
Yes.
Director Burt,
Yes.
Director Pine,
Yes.
Director Abrika.
Yes.
All right, looks like that motion has passed. Councilperson Abrika, it is your meeting.
Yeah, well, thank you, everybody, for, your support. I know we've always worked as a team, and so I will, do my best to get things, keep it moving and keep working together here. So, well, I think then I will open the floor for nominations for a vice chair, because we do need a vice chair. So anybody wish to make a nomination or volunteer, or
We could nominate the person who's not here, which is you.
I do believe I saw Director Combs log on.
Well, maybe we should get him before he logs.
But to keep our rotation going, wouldn't it be Menlo Park would be vice chair?
I kind of lost track. I think we sort of informally kept that, but
I'm happy to be vice chair. It's totally fine. Ruben, you leave big shoes to be filled, and so hopefully I can live up to them.
oh yeah. Oh,
I would then like to nominate Director Combs for vice chair.
okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, so then let's continue roll call for now. We'll do our votes that way.
Councilperson Combs, can you serve during the crisis happening in your community right now at Robin Hood? Have you been reading about this?
It is. I have heard. I don't see any protests out there yet. It's not very far from my house.
I have some pictures of it. I'll send it to you.
Oh wow! Please do.
All right.
That's okay. So yeah, let's do a roll call just to finish.
Director Abrika,
Yes.
Director Pine,
Yes,
Director Combs,
Yes.
Director Byrd,
Yes.
Director Kremen.
Yes.
Okay, then let's go ahead and backtrack to the agenda. And so, well, actually, no, we do have our committees. And so that's, you know, for now, a review of who's on the different committees and people who are interested. So there has been a change in representation from Palo Alto. So currently for the finance committee, we had Director Cormack. And so anyone wish to volunteer for that? And then if people are okay with the other ones, personnel and emergency preparedness.
Chair Abrika,
Yes.
I'm willing to serve on whichever committee it's needed. So up to you and
All right.
and colleagues.
Well, maybe the finance one, if you don't mind. That way it will fill that slot, and unless anybody wants to change the other ones, we could remain the same for now. Everybody okay with that?
it's good.
Okay, so it sounds like our committees then will remain the same with just one change. And, you know, definitely want to thank Director Cormack for her service on that committee. And, you know, at the end, we can make some remarks under the board comments on that. Okay, so I think we're taking care of that item. And so we can go up to item 3, which is the minutes. And I think this one we can do a voice vote unless, or somebody have any changes, modifications, additions. No.
And Chair Abrika, I just wanted
Yes.
to say that I do think we should continue to do a roll call vote for all
Okay.
items. Yeah.
That's fine, right. Yeah, well, okay, that's fine with me. I'm okay with that too. So if there's no changes, then maybe let's have a motion to approve the minutes of the last regular
I'm going to
meeting.
make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. I'll second them. I'll second the motions, and we can have roll call
Director Abrika,
then. Yes.
Director Pine,
Yes,
Director Combs,
Yes.
Director Byrd,
Abstain.
and Director Kremen.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so motion carried. And our next item, and Miko, if you could help me with that, or between you and our director, for public comment. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to address the JPA board on any issue that is not on the agenda. Do we have any requests for that?
I don't have any requests. I don't see any hands raised right now.
Okay. Wait a few seconds, see if any come up, but okay, not having any public comment, we can continue then with the under information items, we have the director's report.
Right. Thank you. An executive directors and staff update on various progress since our last board meeting. There is a funding gap update in your board packet. You will see a a brief summary table of the overall project cost, and then different scenarios laying out various funding gap projected scenarios from the most optimistic to the most pessimistic. Being a conservative, thinking about the goats that might be in the road, I tend to think a little bit more conservatively. Optimistically, we're at about a $17 million gap, conservatively at about a $20 million gap. And the staff report discusses the various options and opportunities that we'll be exploring going forward. As you know, next month we'll be looking at budget discussions. So further discussions about closing funding gaps will be folded into some of our budget discussions. We have completed, well, I should say we have been working on permits with our regulatory agencies. And this includes some very productive conversations with the Army Corps of Engineers for a different program than was being pursued before for the CAP 205 program. Those activities would focus on funding the channel widening sites. So 1 through 5, not the bridge, the channel widening sites. We've concluded the Reller parcel donation. We are very grateful to Mr. William Reller, who has donated a parcel of property that spans the creek and will enable us to have some of our stream modification mitigation activities on that parcel. So we're again very grateful for his donation. Presentations on the Pope Chaucer Bridge and Channel Lake channel widening project elements have been made to councils at East Palo Alto and in a study session to the Palo Alto Architectural Review Board. We received several questions from the Architectural Review Board and additional questions from staff that came in this afternoon. We are working to address all of those questions prior to submitting updates on our submittal package to the city. Regarding 100-year flood evaluation basis, I've secured a contract with Woodard and Curran, and they have been engaged on a kickoff meeting that occurred recently. And the meeting with Stanford for the coordination with their team is scheduled for now February 9th. The first part of that, per our access agreement, is to do a thorough review of data and documentation that Stanford University may already have relevant to our investigation of detention basin feasibility. So we are starting that process very soon. An exciting update on the Safer Bay. As we told you in our last monthly update, we were pursuing a Cal OES FEMA brick application. As of the 22nd, there was no information, but yesterday afternoon, we learned that Cal OES has submitted our application to FEMA. So now we wait. We are not quite sure of how long the FEMA evaluation process will take. As a group, the application was led by the city of Menlo Park. It included Facebook, PG&E, the JPA, and other collaborators from our consulting team. A special shout out to HDR, who did an enormous amount of work, often on very short notice. Whether or not this particular application proves successful, the group has decided to, as they say, keep the band together and pursue and keep an eye open for other grant opportunities, because it's a group that works well together. We have common objectives, and we're excited to work on protecting our communities and securing our important infrastructure. On the organization and admin side, there was a MAC, that's the multi-agency coordinating group, that looks at emergency preparedness. This was a very quick review of the current status of and review of the emergency response and coordinating plan for the San Francisquito Creek. That went very well. There was a brief presentation from the National Weather Service and their projection that in spite of a changed weather pattern that they were anticipating, that we are now all enjoying, they're still anticipating a much drier than normal winter. So even if we're getting great rain now, and this is very helpful for our ecosystems and water supply, it may not make up for a very dry winter. We continue to work on audit, and we are working on a banking service transition. More updates on those will be forthcoming. First quarterly newsletter. Thank you all again for your support in that endeavor. We sent out our first quarterly newsletter and got some great responses. I think the most fabulous one was that we have succeeded in recruiting an intern. So I wanted to take just a brief moment to introduce Hope Laboran, who comes to us from Santa Clara University. She is a civil, environmental, and sustainable engineering senior at Santa Clara University. And she will be assisting us with, among other things, grant applications, detailed information that we need to provide to an upcoming virtual site visit. She's already begun as our photographic documentarian, and the image that you see on this slide was one of the photographs that she took her day with us when we were just starting to onboard her. So please welcome Hope Laboran, and we look forward to working with her and to helping her be successful in launching her career as she graduates from Santa Clara University.
Okay.
And that is a wrap. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, yeah, definitely a variety of items. Yeah, so thank you, Hope, for volunteering as an intern, and thank you, Menlo Park, for leading the efforts on that big application. So any questions from board members or comments on any of the items presented here? Just jump in if you have. You know, I do have one question. Maybe we already did it, but the parcel that was donated to, I guess, the JPA, did we formally accept that at some point, or do we need to do that? We did that already?
Yes, it's been formally accepted.
Publicly now, do we need, or?
Yes.
Yes, okay, right.
And happy to go back and find the resolution for you that.
Well, no, that's fine.
did
I'm,
that.
you know, I'm just, yeah, I'm just trying to remember. So,
Mhm.
yeah, okay. Good. So any other questions, comments? If not, or yes.
One question, if, Margaret, could you remind us how much the grant application is for the brick funding?
It was for the full $50 million possible.
50 million?
50 million.
Okay.
It was for work that includes both planning and design and engineering, as well as construction. And it included the northern section of the Safer Bay from near the border of Menlo Park and Redwood City, all the way south to near Highway 84, where the bridge begins to cross the bay. Just surrounding the ending and a little bit past the PG&E substation. Forgive me if I'm not remembering the reach numbers right at the top of my head. And Recupine, I know that you had requested a copy of that, and we're glad to provide that to you. It is a very extensive document, so if you have some specificity about the information that you would like, I could send you the whole thing, or we can excise certain segments of it that might be more of most interest and use for you.
Okay, I can talk with you offline. I just wanted to get a better sense for the application. So.
Yep.
And Director Bruce, I mean, do we have any sense of how competitive that grant pool is and what our odds might be?
My understanding from my great colleagues is that it's an extremely competitive process, that we are running up against nationwide submittals for similar kinds of projects. And so our chances may not be great. I think the best outcome from this has been a really good band and a really good working team and a commitment from local, both public and private sector leaders to step up to the plate financially and have an ongoing commitment to seeking funding and participating in this project.
Thank you.
So it's cemented a relationship whether or not the grant comes through.
Okay, good. Okay, any other questions or comments on any of the items? So are there any comments from the public? Any requests to speak on anything? Yeah.
I have not received any requests and I don't see any hands raised right now.
Okay. All right, well then let's keep moving along, and we did take care of 6A, so we can go on to B, one of our all-time favorite discussions about PG&E, but here it is.
5B is the mid-year budget update.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm jumping.
No worries, no worries.
Yes.
So this goes to your board packet, and I don't think I can share two documents at the same time. I don't know, Miko, can you do a screen share of the spreadsheet, or maybe we can get Kevin to do that? Basically, the summary is we are on track to be within our budget allocations for the year, under our provisions for key expenditures. There are a couple of areas where there are maybe a slight excursions from where we anticipate where you would project a 50% run rate at this time. And in your board packet, there's a table that has highlighted rows that describe what those excursions briefly are.
Did you say you're trying to get the budget on the screen, or?
Yeah, it would be difficult. I can do a stop share, reshare. So if you hang on for just a second, I can find that table and put that separately up. I just can't do two screens at the same time. So bear with me for just a moment, unless
Yeah,
Miko, unless you've got it. I can do it quickly, so hang on a sec. Okay, let's make this a little bit bigger and see if that's more legible. Can everyone see that table now?
Yeah, thank you. I think that looks good.
Okay,
Bigger would be great.
bigger would be great.
Yeah,
Okay, is that better?
that's even better. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I can speak to most of these, but Miko, as our finance manager, is the expert in all of these. The areas where we are seeing excursions from projected are either to the good, they are under our estimates for the year, and or if they are over, it's because, for example, where we are projecting cash outs from instead of taking vacation time. We are anticipated to conclude the year at or under our estimated budget. An area that is in exceeding projected spend is around computers and software. A great deal of that has to do with replacing Miko's laptop, which was beginning to fail, and expanding the number of licenses we have for critical software so that we have more business continuity should there be one or more of us out at any one time. As you know, we moved offices. The new office space is on paper a greater expense than the former office space. However, the new office provides additional amenities within the lease cost that were excluded from the previous lease. Previously, we paid separately from the lease our pro rata share of property taxes and other expenses, including energy, utilities, trash, etc. The current lease also includes Wi-Fi and phones, which were a separate expense previously. So all told, our office costs are roughly comparable. And our new office is ADA compliant and has other amenities. So again, at the end of the year, we're projecting an on target, at or under budget. Does anyone have any questions for me or for Miko?
Okay, so if there's no questions, comments, it looks good so far. So, well, thank you for the update. Okay, so we'll move on to the project timeline. And
All right. Hang on a second here while I. So let's give a quick update here. I know that several board members have been interested in how and when different parts of the projects may happen. Of most pressing interest is probably the upstream project. Did want SAFER and the detention basin evaluation. So SAFER, as you know, we're waiting on funding. We very recently heard back from DWR that we are anticipating release of funding for, although it's a small grant, it is a grant, in mid-February. So we will be able to begin some initial investigations for the southern portion of the SAFER Bay project. And I think I saw somebody who had a chat, so I don't know if Miko is following that. In the upstream project, as you probably heard last month, as a result of news that we learned from the city of Palo Alto, the Newell Bridge schedule has been pushed back a year. Construction on Newell is now anticipated for 2023. So our upstream channel modifications can also begin that year or can be in 2024. But the Pope Chaucer Bridge cannot be any earlier than 2024. Detention basin evaluation is going to be contingent upon, is going to begin this month. Again, the kickoff meeting on January 9th. That is anticipated to require about a full 6 months. It will begin with literature reviews, document reviews, data reviews from our shared resource in Stanford, then proceed to field investigations, all that you might imagine, geotechnical, biological, cultural, and historic resources. We hope to wrap that up before the end of the school year.
Question, Margaret?
Yes, sir.
On the push out date to 2023, I understand from our previous conversation that perhaps had to do with the funding that Palo Alto was receiving, and I checked with our city staff, and I don't know if you had a chance to speak with Brad Eggleston, but the feedback I got was that they did get the funding for 2022. Have you been able to reconcile that with them?
What I heard was, and my understanding is, they have a commitment from Caltrans for the project funding, but they are, in terms of how Caltrans works, my understanding is even if they have a commitment to the project, that funding, that allocation of money needs to be committed for a particular year. And that is happening in 2023.
Well, and I understood that from what you had said to me, and that's what I conveyed to our city manager and to Brad. And they said no, that they actually had the funding for 2022. I don't know which is correct, but have you, in the last week since you and I last spoke, been able to loop with them to reconcile that?
No, I haven't. I shared with you what they reported to me in the last city managers meeting, which was that the funding was anticipated for 2023.
Okay. Yeah, if you could get with them, because I don't frankly know what's correct, but unless they misunderstood my question, they were saying that they were able to now get it in 2022.
That's pretty exciting.
But yeah,
Okay.
this will be a good item to report back to us at the next meeting. And obviously the Newell Bridge is an important piece in this whole enterprise, even though it's not under the JPA. But yeah, so that'll be
Yes.
good.
Great. And if they have managed to move that schedule up, that's very exciting. Very cool.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on?
Yeah, just a question. Have we heard anything about the status of the Newell Bridge litigation?
I have not. Not since the last city manager meeting, where they were fairly circumspect about the process and current activities, but seemed like there was some level of comfort and confidence that this was going to be sorted out.
Thank you.
No other details.
Okay. Okay, so I think we might be able to move on then if don't see any other requests for comments.
Okay,
And so we'll then move to the PG&E 6B.
right.
item.
So as you read in your packet, this is one of the last details to close out an outstanding payment agreement between the JPA and PG&E. Material on this is that PG&E's gas pipeline realignment was an expense incurred by us that we owed PG&E. At the same time, PG&E's construction activities impacted an asphalt area as a ramp and driveway area that was part of the construction area. PG&E agreed to pay for the paving, and at the conclusion of the project, it is my understanding that on account of PG&E's bankruptcy circumstances, they were either unable or unwilling to pay that amount, although it was small compared to what we owed them. Len's proposal at that time to them was, can we deduct the amount you owe us from the larger payment we owe you and call it a wash? Time has passed. There were conversations. There may have been some misunderstandings or some confusion. There may have been some bureaucratic issue, not bureaucratic, yes, bureaucratic, logistical and legal issues or conversations with PG&E around their bankruptcy circumstances that made this, for them, a more challenging circumstance. At the end of the day, the negotiation is, as Len had originally proposed, there is a larger amount we owe you. Can we deduct what you owe us and call that good? And that's where we are. So it is a mutually satisfactory outcome for both parties. And in your board packet, you have the language of the settlement, of the payment settlement, as well as a resolution commemorating that agreement.
Okay. Any questions or comments? And this is an action item, so any,
Motion to approve the settlement agreement.
okay, we have a motion by Gary and his baby, so, but we still need a second, or did he
Second.
second it? Okay. What is your son's name?
This is constituent Abraham. Hi,
Abraham.
everyone.
Okay.
You still only get one vote, Gary.
Yeah, right. So, okay, but so I think it's been moved and seconded properly. And all those in favor? We can do roll call still then.
Director Abrika? Director Abrika?
Oh, he looks frozen.
Oh, okay.
Looks
Well,
frozen.
we'll move on till he gets unfrozen. Director Burt,
Yes.
Director Combs,
Yes.
Director Pine,
Yes,
Director Kremen,
I think we'll go yes.
and Director Brica. Are you back? Okay,
yeah.
Director Brica, what's your
No,
vote?
yeah,
Okay.
yes.
All right, thanks, everyone. This is it seems like a simple item, but it's really nice to tie a bow on this. It concludes an
Oh, yeah,
important part of our
absolutely.
work.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
Then we have, what's a correction on meeting dates?
there was a typographical error, I believe, for the month of July. The table that you see in your board packet is the corrected meeting schedule, along with a suggestion for August being our summer recess month.
So on, yeah, maybe just a question, a procedural one on the August. I mean, I think we did approve it as a recess month, so that stands, right? We don't have to do anything else.
I just think we didn't indicate it in the schedule.
We didn't
Right.
approve a specific month. We said the board would come back and make a decision.
Oh, I see. Okay, well then, yeah, I guess that's my question, whether then we don't have to necessarily do that now, but we could, if we want to have one of those, I think it was either July or August we were talking about. If there are any preferences or not have a recess either, but any comments from directors or suggestions on which month or no month too, we can do it.
Our council is principally a July vacation, although it'll be interesting too, whether as we emerge from the pandemic, whether we're going to be able to transition toward virtual participation more.
Drew, I think you mentioned you guys are off in July. I remember there were a couple of differences and that's why we were not sure.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm fine with whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's fine.
yeah. Same with me.
Okay. Shall we do August then?
We're always working. Everyone needs water.
Yeah, that's true. So other than the water district, it's a okay. Well, it sounds like that we could probably then settle for August.
Well,
or
so if Menlo Park is July and Palo Alto is July, it would be, I don't know when East Palo Alto is in Davis, but if it's,
you want to do July? It's fine.
it would be my preference, but it depends on what works for the rest of you.
No, it sounds like most people are July. I think we're August, but I'm fine with July. It sounds like at least there's two
So
cities.
we'd meet on the 22nd. That's the proposal. Of July.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we should have a motion on this just because it does change the regular meeting schedule. So I'm just thinking like when we take recess, we take a motion to declare a recess or
do you want to just say that that is an unscheduled meeting month? Rather than a formal, if you want to call it the Robert's Rules of Order, what is a meeting recess? I was thinking recess in the sense of there is no regularly scheduled meeting that month unless something necessary comes up.
yeah, yeah, that was my question really, because maybe just double check with our counsel that as far as the public is concerned, right now we meet every month. That's the regular scheduled meeting. So do we need to do anything differently or just?
So the board has to establish a regular meeting schedule for the year. And this is the motion to set that schedule. And so in setting that schedule, you could determine that you don't want a regular meeting to be held in one of the months, either July or August. That would be kind of the meaning of the term recess. However, if something came up, you could still schedule a special meeting. It just wouldn't be considered a regular meeting because you didn't adopt it as part of this regular meeting schedule.
Yeah, okay. All right, so in adopting this, we just said we're not having a meeting in July, which is
Right.
the thing with Mark was saying. Okay, well, I can.
I go ahead and move that we adopt the schedule as presented with no meeting in August.
I think
meeting-
July. Are you okay with July or?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
So no
I
meeting in
thought-
July, okay.
I thought we were considering moving it to having the no meeting in, you said no meeting, now I'm confused. No meeting in July
No
now
meeting in
or
July.
August?
July.
Okay. Got it, great, that's the motion. Great.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor? And if we can do roll call.
Director Abrika,
Yes?
Director Pine,
Yes.
Director Combs,
Yes.
Director Burt,
Yes,
Director Kremen.
Okay, motion carried. So our last item under the action items is the project information to cities,
Mhm.
et cetera, I think.
And just to make sure that all board members are up to speed on the work and the presentations that are being made to the cities, the one that is upcoming next is to the Palo Alto Architectural Review Board. So I want to do a brief run through of that presentation with a few supplemental slides to bring us more up to date on current work with regard to the arborists. So we'll go through the submittal. There'll be a couple of more detailed slides, and then we'll talk about a recommendation. So let me actually stop this, or actually, I guess I can do new share. There we go. And share the slides for ARB presentation. Let's see, that didn't work. Hang on. One moment. There we go. Actually, that's proving to be difficult. Let me fix that. Thanks for your patience. Okay, so this is item 6D, presentation to Palo Alto. And these are the slides that they saw on our presentation to them on December 17th, again, with a few additions. And I'll go through the context also of the project, just to make sure everybody's sort of up, has their institutional memories refreshed. So as you know, the 1998 flood, or 1998 flood was the flood, quote unquote, flood of record. Anecdotally, the 1955 flood is the next highest one. There have been high flows since then, you know, on other years, but that is the flood of record that we are aiming to protect the against for our Reach 2 or upstream project. There are a number of, let's see, in Reach 1, as you know, we have completed that. Reach 2 has the objective of restoring the natural channel capacity and removing in-channel constrictions. And Reach 3 is the upstream detention work. I'm going to skip through that really quickly to make sure everyone's familiar with sort of the motivations for this. In the 1998 flood, there were at least 1,700 commercial and residential properties that were adversely impacted by the flooding. Many more would have been impacted if this had been a full 100-year flood. With the completion of the downstream project, this area in red that you see has been removed from the floodplain, but remaining in the blue area that you see are at least 4,360 properties that still remain at risk from flooding from breakout points on the Reach 2 section of the river. And they will remain at risk until those Reach 2 projects are completed. So as you know, there are 5 widening sites. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, if you will. The first one, the closest one to the highway is this one where there will be a conforming wall. You can see a little bit of the 4th bore underneath the bridge here. That bore will be opened up to increase this capacity in the channel even further. And in this area, what is now a sackcrete wall will be made a sheet pile wall. Additional widening sites include taking back the bank in areas along the creek where additional space can be gained by making these creek banks more vertical and providing more channel capacity in those areas. There is also an area that has an intrusive concrete structure, a terrace structure. This is on the East Palo Alto side, this particular one. Large trees have grown up inside the structure in the intervening years since it was built, perhaps sometime in the late 30s or 40s. That concrete structure protrudes well into the channel, and so removing it and allowing the bank to be reconstructed in a shallower angle will enable us to restore the creek bank there with native vegetation, as well as reduce a significant constriction in that area. The kinds of treatments that are being considered include both soil nail walls and sheet pile walls with a toe treatment that protects that wall, whether it's a soil nail wall or a sheet pile wall, from toe scour by having large cobbles and boulders at the toe of the wall that will essentially sort of self-stabilize over time.
Through the chair,
And the
if I
stream,
may, through the chair, what's toe
Yeah.
scour?
Toe scour has nothing to do with a pedicure. It has everything to do with the water that comes along the channel wall. It can start to pull sediment out from below the wall, and it creates a void space below the structure. So if this vertical wall here had toe scour, there would be a scallop, like a hollow underneath it, that could arise over time from that kind of eddying and swirling currents of water in high flow events. By putting these rocks, varying sizes of cobbles or boulders, at the toe of the wall, what happens is even these large ones, and Kevin described this so eloquently the other day, these large ones may get moved downstream over time, but because of the shape of this pile of rocks, cobbles, and boulders, when these move, the ones higher up, like a Pez dispenser, move downward to fill the space of those that might have been rolled away from their original position. And they're easy to replace, so we can refill our metaphorical rock Pez dispenser.
Thank
Also-
you for that explanation. Thank you.
I give Kevin all the credit for that one. I am stealing his tune. So we are also looking at engineered stream bed material. What you see in the upper right-hand corner of your screen may look like a natural stream bed, when in fact it is engineered material to look very much like a natural stream bed, providing habitat, preventing erosion, and providing a natural appearance to the stream bed. In the vicinity of the site 2, where the bank is going to be reduced in its angle and replanted, this is an artist's rendering of what that slope would look like and what the vegetation on it would look like approximately 2 years after construction and restoration. We'll also be extending the current wooden parapet and making a permanent structure in this area at University Avenue. Importantly, the Pope Chaucer Bridge, which is now a concrete culvert with a concrete bottom, will be replaced by a natural stream channel bottom and a single span, I guess this is a 3-span bridge, but a span that goes across the creek without the solid concrete culvert, providing much more space for flow and eliminating this constriction in the channel at this point. There's an aerial view of the bridge. Its width conforms to the current road widths, and there is room for a bike lane on either side. The current design includes 2 of these viewing bump outs on either side of the bridge. Illumination will be from rail-mounted lampposts that will have directional light, so light will focus on the bridge deck, not on the water. There are a number of questions that have come up from the Architectural Review Board, and I want to touch on a few of these and briefly on our responses. As I mentioned, we had some comments come in just this afternoon from Palo Alto staff, so our responses are not complete, but just to give you a sense of the kinds of questions that have come in and our responses, I'll go through them in Reader's Digest version here. The Architectural Review Board asked about the bridge guardrail having a heavy appearance and compared to the overall bridge design, and could the structure be lightened? The bridge structure is based on an approved Caltrans sort of formulaic bridge design, and we are providing a clearer view of what that bridge railing would look like, as well as some options for different treatments, whether it's all cement, partly cement, pipe railing, and at which heights and elevations the pipe railing could go. But again, the railing is largely conforming to a required Caltrans construction and engineering standard. They were asking about light fixtures and could they be attached to the guardrail instead of freestanding? And yes, they're intended to be attached to the railing so as not to obstruct the sidewalk. They asked about sitting benches in the bump outs. Sitting benches are certainly an option in 1, 2, or more bump outs. There are specifications for sitting benches that are already graffiti and vandalism resistant, and I think Palo Alto has specifications for those, and we would be happy to follow those specifications and place them if Palo Alto is interested in those. There were questions about trees and canopy loss. And here I want to segue into the areas, again, the project areas, Pope Chaucer Bridge and the channel widening sites, where we have surveyed the number of trees and we have surveyed where those trees may be lost according to the project footprint. As we have refined the project footprint, and it continues to be refined, the tally of trees that have and that will be impacted has been and will continue to be revised. So these slides are now additional to the slide set that we submitted to the Architectural Review Board. And for your more current information, project-related tree removals, and this is preliminary, 535 total trees have been identified within the preliminary project footprint. And when I say preliminary, that means the engineers are still working on exactly the location and size of the entrance and egress ramps that are needed for the project. So it's getting closer to being dialed in, but they're still looking at how much material needs to be moved, the size of the vehicles, the optimal location and slope and orientation of those access ramps. So until those are firmly designed and completed, the number of trees may change, the footprint may change. This is, I would say, 75%, maybe 80% certainty. It will change. What we know at this time, 392 of those 535 trees will be protected in place. 143 trees must be removed to complete the construction of channel widening and bridge replacement. The JPA will comply with all city heritage tree and ordinance requirements, including the requirements for canopy replacement. And again, just as a point of reference, you may all remember that about 300 trees had to be removed to complete the downstream project, and Palo Alto had to remove many more as part of their golf course redesign and reconfiguration. Getting into the more specifics, 82 trees will be removed at Pope Chaucer Bridge. These have to do with, again, construction areas and where equipment and activity will happen. The largest concentrations of trees being removed is in this area, which is actually where they have been planted on top of a concrete culvert. So all of this is going to be removed as part of the deconstruction of the existing bridge. So those trees will need to be removed. At site 1 in the widening, 8 trees will be removed. Site 2, 48. Site 3, 3. Site 4, 1. And at site 5, 1. And I would also caveat that when construction happens in these locations and actual site conditions are more immediately understood, it is possible that some trees will be spared because they could find a workaround, or additional trees will be impacted because of unknown or newly discovered conditions. So again, this is preliminary. It will change, but we're getting closer to knowing the more detailed impact on our trees. The Architectural Review Board was also asking about whether graffiti would be a problem on the new sheet pile wall at, let me go back, in this area. And there are anti-graffiti treatments possible on those surfaces. They are expensive. They cost about $4.50 a square foot. However, most of the regulatory agencies that we are working with, the Regional Water Quality Control Board and others, would probably not be happy with us applying those anti-graffiti coatings in the channel because of the toxic nature of those coatings to fish. Studies have shown that those types of coatings clog the gills of the fish and suffocate them. So that's probably not something that our regulatory agencies would be happy in allowing us to go forward with. It's also true that that's a very difficult place to access. And so if anybody wanted to graffiti those flood walls, they would have to either create a plank way to walk on or be content to sink up to their knees in bay mud, because that's a tidally influenced area and very muddy. The Architectural Review Board had a question about our liaison with property owners who were affected by the projects. And this is particularly true in site 3, where there is a long stretch of work being done behind 3 Palo Alto residences. And yes, we have been in touch with them. We had a great conversation with members of the Edgewood community yesterday afternoon. And that, these are areas of construction impacts for truck traffic and where construction equipment and materials would be stored. And that was our presentation to the Architectural Review Board. And because this is probably an item of greater interest than to just those who may be interested in the Architectural Review Board, I would very much like to have your direction and support for a more widely publicized community update prior to the March 4th Palo Alto ARB meeting. And I'd love any thoughts, questions, or input.
Yes, well, thank you for the refresher. And then just a reminder on the dates. So March 4th is for the Palo Alto, for the Architecture Board. And then it's also going to the Menlo Park Planning Commission.
That's
Is
right,
there a
but
date for
that
that?
date has not been set.
Okay, right. I just want to clarify that. But that will be another presentation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
All right. So you were asking whether to do other community presentations prior to the 4th of March.
yes.
Basically, yeah. Well, I'm in support of that. I think I'm just remembering back when we were talking about the first phase, some years ago, we did, so I remember, I think we did offer more opportunities for comments in general for the public. So I'm in support of that. And if you have any specific dates, or we could leave that up to you, but any other board members want to ask any questions on the presentation or on this on a recommendation? Yeah. Just everybody okay with more? I mean, I think it's always good to, yeah.
I would just,
Or-
certainly the tree removal is going to be one of the big issues. And Margaret, I know that you mentioned there were certain portions that were heritage trees, but it might be helpful to have that breakdown in each of the sections. And I guess one of the things that we're going to be struggling with is whether there are any ways to mitigate that loss as you refine how many trees are actually in jeopardy. And my understanding is that this is still getting refined a lot, and there are uncertainties on that. So,
Yes. And we will also be working with Palo Alto staff with regard to their expectations for when we need to have certainty about locations for the replacement trees and how to coordinate that. So we will be in close communication with your staff.
This is Drew, if I get chime in. My one recommendation is that if you do end up doing sort of multiple community presentations instead of just the one, I would think about sort of separating them out sort of thematically, right? And so maybe a session that just deals with the tree removal, right? And then so you can dive into the issues of which are heritage trees, which are not, what's sort of the replacement, what the replacement of those trees are going to look like, or any other additional mitigations. I mean, another one could just be sort of looking at the sort of architectural elements. Again, this are just suggestions, and obviously in each presentation you do an overview of the whole project. But yeah, I know that obviously some residents are more interested in or have sort of narrowed their focus on very specific aspects of the project of which they have concerns. And I say let's sort of be transparent in addressing those concerns.
Okay.
Okay, any other suggestions or comments? Board members?
Kamal would like to speak on this issue.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations, Director Abrika, for the chairmanship.
Oh.
Hi, all board members. This is Kamal Fallaha, Public Works Director, East Palo Alto.
Thank you.
I like, of course, the design, of the pub Chaucer. And as you know, we have two bridges that are going to be constructed over the creek between Palo Alto and East Palo Alto, the Newell, and the pub Chaucer between Palo Alto and Menlo Park. I was hoping for more consistency with the design approach. I know the observation bulb out, they were part of the original scope or the original, I guess, draft sketches that rendering of the Newell Bridge. But later on, after many community meetings, they were eliminated. I think it makes sense, and I expressed this in my comments to the EIR, that we have to be consistent with the design approach, make them similar, because I think it's almost one community. I would like to see if there's a way to look into that. I know CEQA already been certified when it comes to the Newell Bridge. And I don't want to stop, of course, this project. We are in support of moving this project forward, but something, to be, fair and just with, with the way we approaching this. Why these elements, architectural elements, being eliminated from the new bridge compared to what I see here now in the Pope Chaucer design. Just a comment again. I don't mean to stop the progress, but something I would like the board to look into and make sure we are consistent. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may speak to Mr. Falaha's question and comment, the Newell Bridge project is not one that's being led by the Joint Powers Authority. And we can certainly reach out to our colleagues at the Department of Public Works in Palo Alto and ask, and certainly convey Mr. Falaha's desire to see that design element restored. I don't know what the process is for doing that within Palo Alto's Public Works Department, but Mr. Falaha, I'm glad to convey your comment on your behalf.
Any other comments, suggestions, questions? Well, I would say, Margaret, I think one thing I heard both from Drew and Pat, which the thing makes sense, that in organizing these meetings, there could be more focus so that there's opportunities for anybody anywhere to join in on the whole tree question. And then there could be the other elements or whatever that might end up being more. Well, anyway, it kind of makes sense to me too. So if you would work on that and then let us know when they get set up, I guess, or.
Okay.
Did you have any potential dates at this point, or that's something
I
work
don't.
out?
Pending. First off, your interest and availability. If any board member would like to participate and represent your community in any of these, or if you would like me to just schedule them and participate in an ad hoc fashion, if that works for your schedule. I was thinking of fairly shortly before March 4th to give us time to get the, I would like to actually mail invitations to these Zoom meetings out to our community members and pursue some other outreach opportunities so that we get maximal awareness and participation. So I will endeavor to do at least 2 different ones. Again, one focused only on the trees portion and another focused on the architectural and engineering elements portion. So again, people can self-select for the ones they want to participate in. And I'll work on scheduling those probably in late February or in the first day or 2 of March.
Yeah, so maybe to have maximal flexibility, whatever works best. And again, I'll just double check on how it works so that, if directors want to join in the meeting, maybe that we let you know ahead of time so there's no more than 2.
Right.
And that would maybe simplify it rather than having to post it as a regular meeting if everybody's going to be there. And also just let you choose the best day that works for the staff or for you guys.
Okay.
Does that sound okay with board members? Yeah.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
Director Brica, we do have one more public
yes.
comment.
Go ahead.
From Zena Hammer. Yes. She says Newell Bridge proposal in 2012 included viewing platforms. They were eliminated from the design due to outcry from neighbors. We do not want to reopen that discussion.
Okay, we'll leave that as a comment since I think that was.
Come on.
Or Margaret, you want to add anything to that comment?
I don't at this time.
Yeah. All right. So we'll take that as a comment. Anybody else? Do we have any other members of the public? Yeah. No?
I don't see any other comments.
Okay. All right. So I think we've given direction on this.
Okay.
Margaret, so thank you for the report. So
As an
our next-
action item, does the board want to take a vote on this to commemorate this, or just a voice vote on this sufficient? I'm not sure what your preference is.
My impression is that we're just giving direction to you to go ahead and schedule these meetings.
Okay.
I think, I mean,
As well within our executive
Yeah.
directors, you to schedule these
right,
meetings.
just schedule them. I think we're saying it's good. It's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Onward. Okay.
Okay,
So changing my, and that would be the end of our action items, important items for our work. And next is agenda item 7.
yeah, so this is an opportunity for any board member to make any comments or announcements or anything. So,
This is Drew. I'll dive in. I'll just share with the board that I had shared with Margaret earlier. I think earlier in the week or last week, a news item about a resident along Woodland across from the creek organizing a cleanup effort for the creek. There had been a mattress there that she could see from her home for a number of months, and she hadn't been successful in getting any government entity to remove it. And so she got some high schoolers and they removed the mattress, some large car or automobile parts, and also some safes. I remember when I took a tour with Kevin some months ago, we also stumbled across some safes. And I know that the JPA staff and relevant city staffs do an annual walkthrough through the creek, and at that time make note of things that need to be cleared, any sort of trash or large items. But I would just say that, it is something we should be mindful of as we talk about these this large project, right, on the creek, that, there are things, the creek is still there now. It is there, and there are things that are happening with it. And there is some concerns about neighbors with regard to quality of life regarding sort of trash that's piled up, large items that get dumped there. I know that it is, in theory, the responsibility of each city and not the responsibility of the JPA. But I did just want to sort of, again, like surface this as an issue. That as we look at these larger projects, there's some residents out there that are frustrated that the creek to them seems a little bit abandoned, and that there isn't sort of a government entity that's taking responsibility for cleaning it up on a somewhat regular basis.
Hi, I just have one other comment.
yes.
Yes, so as we're moving forward with this project, and I was interested in seeing the engineered materials in the bottom of the creek bed, which look like they're anchored in place perhaps by cement, but they not only look more natural, but they start to help establish habitat. I'm interested in us at a certain point in time begin to look at how we can improve the water quality in the creek for fisheries. We're seeing additional scientific studies identifying different organics from tire dissolution that are affecting salmon populations and things like that. And this is a more long-term issue for us, but it's something that we may be able to work with the adjoining cities to have filtration in certain of the runoff, and it's just something I'd like to explore at some point in time. So it's not for an immediate agenda, but I just like to see if there's interest from other board members, and then maybe we can figure out how we might expand our discussion to include that.
Any other comments or announcements?
Yeah, through the chair, I was wondering maybe our executive director can contact the water district. I don't know about if we can get access to the stream maintenance permit, because I know it's very limited, but maybe we could do a cleanup day or something at the right time. a free cleanup day. It's
So-
disconcerting to hear about the mattresses and the car parks.
Yeah, maybe I think at the next meeting, we could do a little report because obviously this is not on the agenda, so we're not gonna go into, but I know that historically we have done once a year. We try to do some coordination. And so I think it is a good topic to just refresh our memory how we do that and things like that. Because I know East Palo Alto, sometimes we've done some little cleanups along south of Newell with volunteers, et cetera. But I think it's a good topic for us to have a report next time.
Sure. Thank you. We'll add that to the agenda.
Yeah. Okay. Any other announcements, comments from board members? Well, as now the chair, I do want to welcome Pat Bird back to the JPA as representative of Palo Alto, and then also thank former Director Cormack for her service and participation in our JPA. And yeah, in particular, there was a period of time in the transition of directors that she and now I forget if it was David or Gary. I know there were two people that, were helping to facilitate working with the staff and kind of keeping an eye on things as things transition. So I want to thank her for that. And who was the other person? I'm getting old now, but was that David or Gary that you?
Must have been Gary, wasn't Dave.
Okay. All right. So yeah, Gary, yeah, obviously Gary. Yeah. So Gary and then Director Cormack helped a lot with that particular thing. So anyway, so if there's no other reports or announcements, I then will move to the next item, which is there any public on any public comment? There it is on closed session items, and then we will adjourn into closed session. But do we have any requests from any member of the public?
I have not received any requests for
Okay.
comments.
All right, then
And I
if we
don't
don't see
see
any, then
Any hands raised?
yeah, and Miko, will you explain to us then how you'll move us into a room or how? Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to create breakout rooms for the board in executive director and legal. So just give me a moment or two to do
Yes,
that.
okay, thank you, yeah. I'm just trying to remember how it's done, so. Okay, so we're being invited to join in, so I think we joined in.
Yes.
We're back in open session after our closed session, and I will ask that we have a little reporting out of that. And,
On the litigation item, there is nothing to report out. We just discussed the status of litigation and litigation strategy.
yes. Well, I'll report out on the performance evaluation, so there's no reportable action also at this point. So. And with that, I think that concludes our meeting. So everybody have a safe rest of the week and enjoy the time. Enjoy the water for now as long as we don't have any flooding, because then it's going to get dry. Okay. All right. So that's the end of our meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.